Hello everyone, and welcome back to Princeton Microgreens. My name is Peter. We've made a few videos now, tutorials on how to grow a few microgreens, along with a few little simple things like how to mix your cocoa coir and such. But I really wanted to take the time to kind of put together this little video and really go through what we use here at Princeton Microgreens, what we grow with. Maybe it'll spark some ideas if there's some things that you don't use yourself that you see us using. We have a few really cool little things that we've really put to use that helps us that I haven't seen before. So I just figured, start one end of the room and kind of work my way over and kind of go through everything that we use from the ground up, I guess you can say. I'm going to, sometime later on at the end of this video, after everything's posted, it might take a little time, but I'm going to go through individually and actually put a line out of almost everything that we have, along with where to get it, like on Amazon, how much it costs, and so forth. And I'll put that under this description of the video. So keep an eye out for that for sure. To start off, we have these beautiful racks here that are basically just regular wire racks. Now you notice here that we have a black wire rack, and the reason why I went with a black on this side is because this kind of symbolizes like my blackout wire rack, right? I use this for stacking trays, my blackout phase, and so forth. And of course, I still have a little bit of room left, so I also use it for a little bit of storage, as you can see. So that's kind of the purpose of my black rack here. And then of course I have two normal chrome wire racks. We use LED lights. They're 20 watts a strip, I believe it is. So we actually have 3 strips every single shelf. So every shelf is essentially 60 watts, all added up, said and done. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shelves times 2. We can do up to 40 trays so what we're doing. So we do 1, 2, 3 lights times 10, so we have 30 strips of lights right now. So I also do these fans here, these little CPU fans. These are great, but we don't use them all the time. You don't want to keep them on all the time. I think it's really important to note that. Microgreens, like if we keep all these fans on all the time, the cocoa coir will dry out extremely fast, especially in the summertime where it's really hot. The coir just, you keep those fans on all the time, and it's just too much. There is such thing as too much air circulation with microgreens. So just kind of keep that in mind. We turn them on traditionally about 1 to 2 days before harvest day. To kind of really dry them out, because what happens is when the greens are just sitting there, even if you don't top water, the coir is very moist and it kind of evaporates up and into the canopy of the microgreens. So the microgreens become very wet just naturally from the evaporation and condensation from the coir underneath. So with about 2 days left on our grow, that's when we turn these fans on, as well as we do keep a fan on over here all the time for a little bit of airflow, and we have a dehumidifier that we keep going all the time as well, and I set that to right around 40% humidity. So it'll kick on as soon as it starts getting above 40% humidity. In the wintertime, I don't really need to pull out the water, but I'd say every 3 to 4 days. In the summertime, I'm having to dump that water out of the dehumidifier, I'd say, once a day at the very minimum, sometimes even once in the morning, once at night, depending on how humid it is. So that's very, very important to have your dehumidifier. I'd say anywhere from 50 liters to 70, depending on whether or not you're going to be home or not during the course of the day. To empty it out. They also have a hose that you can attach to the back of most dehumidifiers, and it'll just drain just all the time. I don't have mine set up that way. I really want to set it up that way here in the future. But just food for thought, that's really good feature to have if you do have that ability to do that with a dehumidifier. You never have to worry about dumping it out. So we have our wire racks. I do have a timer here as well. And so the way it works is I have both of these racks plugged into the timer, And I can just turn on any set of lights here that I want, put on that light, put on that light. And then what happens is they're hooked to the timer. The timer's set to go on at 8 a.m. and off at midnight. So it stays on for about 16 hours a day. So as soon as I flip these light switches, they're tied into the timer. I just walk away and the timer already automatically knows to turn them on and off at certain times. If I'm not using them, I just go ahead and flip them back off. The timer's still activated, but nothing's on, so it doesn't matter. So I never have to touch the timer. I just flip the switches depending on what shelf I have microgreens on and I need under the light. So that system works out really well for us. It's really easy to hook up with just 2 power strips, one on each wire rack here. I have the CPU fans all daisy chained via USB and also going into the power strip. So yeah, maybe I'll do a tutorial video how to put these together. There's a few tutorial videos I've seen on YouTube, but maybe I'll do my own one day. So there's that. Talk about trays a little bit. So these trays right here, these are my favorite, but with quality comes price. These trays, so these are really phenomenal trays. Bootstrap Farmer really did a good job with them. There's something that kicks me in the gut with paying for what I paid for them. I mean, I think they're somewhere between $10 to $12 for a set. You know, one bottom, the one with holes. So you figure you get 100 trays, you know, or 100 sets of tray. I guess you can say you're paying about $1,000, as opposed to 100 set of these from True Leaf Market. You're probably paying $100 to $200. So this is probably about 5 times the amount of price, if not more, than these. Now, obviously, these are very flimsy trays, but I mean, if you're starting out, these might get you by for a while. Once you start getting into a little bit more of a microgreen production, where you're actually growing for restaurants and markets and home deliveries and such, and you're growing 30, 40 trays at a time, these are just so much easier to use. A lot of times the greens when you're trying to wash these and clean them, the greens get dried up and hard and start sticking to the plastic. It's hard to get off. It's hard to sanitize. It's hard to wash. The grooves are very deep, so it's hard to get in there and scrub them with a brush. And at the same time, I would also recommend not going with the 2-inch lip. The 2-inch lip really, it doesn't allow the airflow to kind of get in your microgreens, and you seem to get like a lot of like mold issues or dampening off because there's too much moisture inside. It won't let it escape, because what happens is the canopy and the microgreens will also go up against kind of the lip sometimes, and then it just creates this kind of like terrarium of just it's its own environment. and it just, the moisture won't escape out of it. So I really like the 1-inch a lot. On top of it, these trays right here, they're super easy to clean. It's almost like a non-stick pan in a way, like the surface of it. The greens, the coir, everything, you almost just spray it and it just trickles right off. All the dirt, all the greens. You just need to scrub them really quick with a brush. I use a little bit sometimes, every once in a while. So how I clean my trays is I'll use soap and water. And then once a month I'll go in with a little bit of water and bleach and go through and just sanitize everything again over again. But these are definitely, I don't want to say worth it. I don't want to say best bang for your buck, because they're super expensive. But I highly recommend, if you can splurge on them, you won't be disappointed. They've really helped me out and make my production, saved me a lot of time, just made my production a lot easier. So let's see here. So those are those trays. And then I guess to talk about this table really quick, this is stainless steel. I call it my harvest table. You can get this on Amazon for about $99, which to me is a fantastic deal because it's absolutely beautiful. So it's stainless steel. It wipes off extremely easy. It sanitizes. I go over with some disinfectant wipes every time I'm done harvesting and clean it all up. It's got some, as you can see here, it's got some shelving, so I can actually have all my trays underneath, which is readily available right here. Underneath that, I have a little container of cocoa coir, which is in like a Rubbermaid container, about 1.5 feet tall, and that's underneath my trays here. And then I also have, next to the cocoa coir, I have 2 buckets that I use to mix. Basically mixed nutrients. I use a little bit of sea mineral. I don't use it all the time. Microgreens have kind of they have almost enough nutrients within themselves to grow. You don't really need to give them too much. So I'd say I really only put nutrients in, I'd say every other day. Into the water, and then just maybe in the morning or afternoon or something like that, just to give them a little bit, just in case. I really haven't seen too much of a difference, to be honest, with adding nutrients in microgreens. Some people have. My greens grow just fine the way I'm doing it, so why change what works, right? Don't fix what's not broken. So what I did here was I actually, trying to see if it's on here. Oh, here we go. So I actually put on here little markings, 1 gallon, 2 gallon, 3 gallon, 4 gallon, 5 gallon, and so forth. And so when I'm actually filling it up, I can actually see how much water I put in there. So I just marked that with a little Sharpie. Wasn't hard to do. And then I use, so it's 1/2 an ounce of sea mineral for every 1 gallon of water. And usually this 5 gallon bucket, when I mix it up, will usually get me through an entire rack of microgreens for one whole grow cycle. Because again, I only use this every other day or so, maybe once in the morning or once at night, just to give it a little bit of extra oomph for nutrients. So now on here as well, I have this is a really simple unit to use. It's just a little scale. I use this for weighing all my seed. I also use it to I put my containers on there, so when I harvest, I go right to the container. Some people will harvest in like a big bucket or a bowl and weigh, and so, oh look, I got 200 grams of microgreens. I don't do that. I think it's a waste of time. I put my container that I'm harvesting into and packaging, my packaging container, right onto the scale, zero it out. I'll harvest right into the container. 56 grams is equal to 2 ounces. I do 2 ounce containers, about 56 grams. So I just fill up my container to 56 grams, seal it, put my label on, off we go to the next one. Container, microgreens, seal it, label on, so forth. And then if I have 4 containers of microgreens, I know that I got right around 200 grams from that one tray. Pretty simple math. I don't need to, count it up beforehand. There's no point in that. Again, it's just messy. And to be honest, when you're growing and when you're harvesting, if you can actually harvest and actually put right into the container, you can make it look really presentable in the container, look really nice. And we'll get into that in some of my other videos. You'll see it. They lay in the container that you put them in very, very nicely. If you put them into a bowl or something beforehand, it's just kind of like this giant bowl of greens, and it kind of looks like this big bowl of tangled spaghetti. And so when you're pulling them out and putting them back in the container to package them again, it just looks like a bowl of spaghetti. It looks terrible for presentation. So I go right from harvesting right into the container that we sell in. So that's the scale. They're like $10 on Amazon. You can find them anywhere, to be honest. Any scale will work. I won't say that. Make sure you do get somewhat of a decent scale that reads grams very well. I found some scales, what'll happen is you'll zero it out and it doesn't read grams very well, right? So it takes like 5 grams for it to register. And then what winds up happening is you know, your seed, or when you're weighing stuff on it, you're off by 5-10 grams sometimes, because it just takes a little while to register those first couple of grams, which are very important, especially when you're doing seed and you're only doing, for instance, amaranth, where you're doing maybe like 8 to 10 grams of seed. Well, if I'm not registering the first 5 grams, well, my whole, you know, tray is going to be messed up. So you need to make sure that it at least is somewhat decent. I find this one to be pretty accurate. So a little bit of organization. As you can see, I'm sure you've noticed, I'm very organized in how I store my seeds and things along that line. What happens is I buy from True Leaf, and True Leaf Market, I think, is great. I'm in the United States. I know some of you are not, but I have the pleasure of being able to buy from True Leaf. The problem is with True Leaf, I don't want to say so much as a problem, but the thing that I'm going to come across is when they give you your seed and it delivers, it comes in big plastic bags, or like mesh bags, like plastic mesh bags and so forth. And it's extremely messy to, you know, pour, especially large quantities. When you're working and I have, you know, 20 trays going all at once, and I've got seed flying everywhere and stuff, the last thing I want is to have to deal with these little plastic bags and pour seed, reseal the bag, and, you know, get little seeds going everywhere. It's really messy. So what I decided to do was I went onto Amazon and I found these beautiful little plastic containers. And then I printed out my label. So I have labels that I print out for labeling my product. And I took that label and I put it right on front of these little plastic containers, and I put my seed in it. So this would be beet seed, and this would be cilantro seed. And I put it right in there, and I also put right on top here what it is, how many grams per flat, whether or not I put weight on top. There's some things I don't put weight, like amaranth, for instance. There's no weight. You just put the tray on without any, you know, block or anything on top. And I kind of put all the information here. That way I don't need to remember every. I'm sure, I mean, over time I memorize this stuff, but it's just easy when I just grab it. I have all the information here right there, just in case, you know, I brain fart or something. It's right there in front of my face. It's really nice. And I put everything in these containers, and everything's in alphabetical order. So I know, hey, you know, I'm looking for turnip, I'm looking for rutabaga, I'm looking for spicy sour mix, whatever it may be. I know exactly where to look and where it's going to be all the time. So you might think that's a little overkill, but I don't. I think it's great. It's a great system for me. It works. Maybe it'll work for you. Hopefully it'll give you some ideas, spark some ideas in your head on some of the things that you can do to organize your workspace. I also have these as well. These are from my bigger seed, right? Your sunflowers, your popcorns, your pea, your nasturtium seeds. I got these little 2-gallon buckets that I went and poured all the seed into. And I have these little cool scoops as well, so I can scoop up and, you know, if I need to soak my seed, I have my, what do you call them? Mason jars, I'm sorry. Have my mason jars right there. So I can scoop my seed right into my mason jars, add water to them, and I'm good to go. So I really like this. I think this is a really nice way to organize as well. These buckets are pretty cheap as well on Amazon. You can get just about everything on Amazon. What can't you get, right? So again, organization, right? So got my mason jars there. I actually created this cool little contraption here. So what this is these are name badge magnets. So these do not work for the Bootstrap Farmer trays, but they do work for like the True Leaf trays, the flimsier plastic trays. So the True Leaf, or I should say, I'm sorry, the Bootstrap Farmer trays, you can actually just get a dry erase marker and you can just write right on them and they just wipe right off when you're done. It's great for labeling. Before, I was actually using a label maker and I was putting on trays. I have to rip it off afterwards when I was done. Otherwise, I'd have trays with labels on them and I'd be like, oh, where's my pea tray? Where's my broccoli tray? Where's my radish tray? And you don't want to have to do that. So we needed something that just worked for what we were trying to do. So while I was using these trays, I came up with the idea that you use these little name badge magnets, and what they are, it's a magnet that holds your name badge if you're at like a work event or something, and instead of pinning your shirt or taping to your shirt that just falls off, these are magnets. It goes in the back of your shirt, and the other magnetic part goes in the front, and it basically holds your name tag on. So I printed the labels out for all the different kinds of microgreens that we grow, and I put it on this little magnet tag. And as you can see here, this is actually magnetic. I actually went and put it on here, just like that. You got the back and you got the front. And I put this on back of the tray, and I put this on front of the tray, and boom, it just clips right on. And it'll literally just sit right onto the tray like a little label, which is great because when I'm done, I just take it right off and put it right back. There's no mess, no fuss. This is great. So, and I'm just telling you guys all this because maybe it'll spark some ideas on some the way to organize your workplace and how to label things and and so forth. So I got my label maker down there. I got the cool little watermelon knife. I use this to the harvest. I sharpen it every week, and I really like it because of just the size of it. It's just nice and flat. It just allows me to swoop right through the greens. I love this little knife, and these things are so cheap. You can probably find them for $5 on Amazon. I would probably say I'd recommend spending anywhere between $10 to $15. I've seen them upwards of $20, $25, $30 depending. But this is mid-range. This is about $15 little knife. That was on Amazon that I absolutely love. It's been using it for months and I take good care of it. Got some measuring cups, disinfectant wipes I keep down there, some Clorox disinfectant wipes, and I go over this every time I'm working on it. This is pretty neat. So what I did here was when you're growing something like, let's take for instance popcorn, okay? You're growing popcorn, you're going to grow in the dark, right? So the popcorn's going to grow. In order to stay yellow, it can't photosynthesize, right? So it has to stay in the dark the entire time. Problem is microgreen grows, popcorn grows very tall. So we have this little, this bubble top, I guess you would say here, that is about, I think it's about 8 inches tall, if I'm not mistaken. And I got a 10-pack of these on Amazon for about $50. And obviously, the issue is that it's clear. So what we did was, this is it all said and done. Sorry if I'm being a little loud here. We went and got a little $5 can of Plasti-Dip, and we sprayed it down with some black Plasti-Dip, and this is what we came up with. And this thing is gorgeous. It almost looks like it came right out of the factory like this. This is great. And now that when we grow our popcorn microgreens, we just put this right on top, and they can grow nice and tall underneath in the dark. This is pretty easy to make. In the future, I will be putting up a tutorial video on exactly step-by-step how to make this. But it is pretty easy. Like I said, just one of these little clear plastic domes with a little Plasti-Dip, and I'd say probably about 6 or 7 coats of Plasti-Dip on it, nice thin coats, and that's what you come up with. And that's kind of my pride and joy. I actually had a lot of fun making that. So. We have got some antifungal. You'll find that some microgreens like nasturtium and sunflower tend to get a little moldy here or there. Let's say moldy, but traces of mold. As long as you take care of it at the very beginning, it usually subsides and goes away pretty quickly. This is a mixture of this hydrogen peroxide, this food grade hydrogen peroxide. We do about 2 tablespoons of this for about 1,000 milliliters of water. And then you kind of just mix it up into this, and then you can just spray on any issues that you might come across with your microgreens. If you see any mold forming, you just pump it a few times and then spray it on, and bye-bye it goes. Or at least keeps it in check at the very minimum. So, but yeah, I mean, there's not too much else. I'm trying to think. I mean, so the issue that I had growing at this exact spot right now was I actually didn't have a water source over here on the side of the room. I was constantly having to take my greens, everything I did, and I had to walk over to the sink on the other side of the room, and it became really inconvenient for me. So what I decided to do was I went to Home Depot, Lowe's, a few hardware stores, and finally a plumbing supply store was the only guys that could help me out. But I was able to find some attachments that actually go to the underneath of your sink, and it allowed me to actually hook a garden hose up underneath the sink with a little lever to turn on and off the water. And so that's exactly what I did. And now I actually have a garden hose that I can roll up right underneath my sink when I'm not using it. But when I am in fact using it, I have a sprayer right here. I can do whatever it is I need to do. I can fill my buckets up. I can water my greens. I can go directly to my trays and water directly in my trays right here. It's just all about being creative. I think the attachments underneath the sink cost me, about $26 to get that done, and then, garden hose for another $15. I mean, everything's pretty affordable if you just learn to do it yourself. And that's kind of the point of me making these videos now is to kind of spark your brain with, maybe a few ideas to help yourself when putting stuff together. So, but yeah, I have a fan over here. This is just a little Vornado fan. I got this from Costco. This actually blows it blows like a vortex of air. But what I like about it is I keep it far away, and it allows me to, it blows such a good stream of air that it kind of hits the wall, and it just does like this circle through the room with the dehumidifier as well. And it just keeps that circle of air moving all the time. So I keep that on pretty much all the time, at least when I'm not recording, because it's a little loud. But yeah, that's it. I hope this all was pretty helpful for you guys. I'm going to sometime in the future put all this down, like I said, on. I'll put it in like the description box with a little bit of information on where to get all this stuff, maybe links to Amazon, how much it costs, and so forth. I want to put a little Amazon store together for everyone that people can go in and see all the products I recommend. And I'll put together that shortly and put that in the description as well. And I hope all this information was helpful to you guys. I wish I had it when I started. I basically kind of had to figure everything out on my own because I started so early on when microgreens were really kind of coming up. So yeah, if you like this video, absolutely please hit that thumbs up button. Definitely hit that subscribe button and that bell alert. That way you can get alerts when future videos come out. But other than that, you guys have a great day, and stay tuned, and we'll grow some more microgreens. All right? Bye-bye. Hello, everyone. Peter here from Princeton Microgreens. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. Also, if you have any ideas, suggestions, or questions, feel free to leave them below in the comment box. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.